Are you looking for the best gaming mouse in your budget? Well, in today's video, we break down the top 5 best gaming mouse. I made this list based on their price, quality, durability, and more. To find out more information about this product, you can check out the description below, and also make sure you subscribe for more reviews. Okay, so let's get started with the video. The 5th product on our list is the Logitech G502 X. At first glance, Logitech's G502 X gaming mouse may not appear much different to its predecessors, but look a little closer and you'll notice some useful revisions, in particular for FPS players. While there's no change to the already improved G502 Hero 25K sensor, there are some impressive ergonomic enhancements to note, along with customizability and weight improvements to boot. In fact, Logitech has doubled down on making the Logitech G502 X lighter. It comes in at 89G, which is a significant difference over the Hero's 121G. Sadly, it doesn't come with the option to configure the weight like the Hero, which would have been a nice addition considering it's going for the same price as its predecessor. There's no LED system behind the Logitech G symbol or any RGB at all. And while that's a little disappointing that you can't program damage flashes on your mouse, for example, it makes sense to appeal to the FPS audience more. While the scroll wheel is now plastic instead of metal to improve the weight, it still comes with an infinite scroll, our Dave's most loved feature. Comparing the G502 X to my absolute favorite gaming mouse, the Logitech G502 Lightspeed, I've spotted some subtle differences that might not seem like much, but do affect the overall experience. Interestingly, and most evidently, there's now an interchangeable thumb button with a little lip that can be rotated. I assume for use with larger or smaller hands, though hand positioning could also be a factor, or perhaps aimed more at fingertip grippers. Speaking of hand placement, one of the major differences from the previous model comes in the form hand angle. While my initial qualm was that the lower profile shell meant my wrist was leaning on the desk a lot, my hand has now shifted around to the intended position. I get it now. It's slightly skewed, similarly to those vertical mice that are all the rage at the moment in offices, which gives it superior ergonomics to the simple flat, front-facing hand placement of the original design. Pair that with the fantastic thumb rest, longer buttons, and you have yourself a superbly ergonomic mouse that boasts improvements we didn't know we needed from the Logitech G502 line. The G502 X may not come with an updated sensor, but the switches are now Lightforce hybrid switches. They're optomechanical, so they combine optical speed with a mechanical actuation. They sound a little clunky, but that's likely due to the lack of internal components tucked in the mouse. As far as pricing goes, it's being shipped at roughly the same price as the earlier models. $80 for the wired version, $140 for the wireless version, and $160 for the G502 X Plus. The latter is the only one with RGB, which pushes the weight up 106G over the wired version. It's certainly one way to separate the company's more utilitarian users from the rest, but $20 for some RGB LEDs does seem a little steep. I personally regarded the previous model as the perfect mouse, and it's almost a shame to remove the weight it had behind it, though I do admit the ergonomic changes are likely better for my hand. The new ergonomics do have the potential to alienate those with larger hands or who don't enjoy the sideways slant, and the weight reduction has meant RGB likers like me would need to spend substantially more. Up next in the 4th place is the Logitech G203 Lightsync. If you find the Logitech G203 Lightsync familiar, you're not the only one. This mouse may be tipped as a fairly recent arrival, but it is almost functionally identical to the G203 Prodigy that preceded it. The G203 Lightsync sits within a hotly contended category of budget-conscious gaming mice. Most of all, it faces stern competition from Razer, whose lineup at this price, or thereabouts, now includes the DeathAdder Essential, Basilisk Essential, and Viper Mini. However, the G203 Lightsync has enough about it to stand its own. Its no-nonsense design packs the bare essentials, and it builds upon that slight flair for the aesthetic that you won't find quite so pronounced anywhere else. The G203 Lightsync is a wired mouse. It's light speed that you're looking for if you're after a wireless rodent. Instead, Lightsync denotes this mouse's compatibility with the Logitech G app and RGB lighting system, which is able to unify RGB lighting effects across compatible Logitech products. What's somewhat confusing is that non-Lightsync products are also able to integrate with said app to varying degrees. The 3 titular lighting zones all lie within the thin strip that spans the rear palm rest, with the logo above taking the same color as the middle RGB lighting zone. While it might have been nice to have independent control of the logo itself, the option does allow for gorgeous tricolor gradient effects sweeping from one side of the mouse to the other. Pair this with the G203 Lightsync's slightly tweaked white and gray option as opposed to the white and black option previously available with the Prodigy, and you're onto something quite stunning for $40. That's right, the only other difference to note with the G203 Lightsync over its predecessor is the introduction of a gray scroll wheel reservation, as opposed to the bog standard black adopted previously. I've gone for the white colorway for the test unit for this review, and while I can't tell you what it will look like in 5 years' time, I can tell you that it looks quite stunning out of the box. Expect the same near ambidextrous design with the G203 Lightsync as Logitech's Lightspeed then, complete with 2 buttons under whereabouts the pad of your right hand thumb would sit. These aren't removable or swappable to the opposite side, which certainly comes as a surprising flaw in the Logitech G203's otherwise one-size-fits-all design. Nevertheless, it's a simple design, and one which Logitech aptly calls tried and true. The unnamed gaming grade sensor within the G203 offers a DPI range of 208,000, which should prove more than enough for all, but the most colossal of 4K monitors, at which point you might want to turn to something with a little more grandeur than the G203. The sensor is more than suitable for decent and consistent gaming, and turns up a clean sheet in mouse sensor tests. Perhaps Logitech's unwillingness to reinvent the budget-conscious gaming mouse with every iteration of the G203 begets a quiet confidence in what it's bringing to the more affordable segment of its sprawling mouse lineup. The changes introduced with the G203 Lightsync, however few, may make for a materially slim review, but we're also not jumping at the chance to shift it out from our best gaming mouse roundup just yet. The third product on our list is the Razer DeathAdder V2. The Razer DeathAdder V2 improves on everything we love about the DeathAdder Elite, itself one of the best gaming mice, and one that has been around since 2016 in various forms. You can pick up the improved DeathAdder V3 nowadays, but we're still fans of the older kit as it's just so darn cheap right now. Someday that'll change, yet for now we're betting on the better value buy. The most obvious improvement with the V2 over the original DeathAdder is the Focus Plus optical sensor, the same one used in the excellent Razer Viper Ultimate Wireless. I'll go into it in a second, but I was more impressed by the more subtle changes Razer has made for the V2. The first is the scroll wheel. Razer has a ridiculous name for the new design, Instinctive Scroll Wheel Tactility, but the results are perfect. It's exactly the right tightness. It spins smoothly, but you can still feel every notch of the turn, so you won't accidentally scroll too many times. The fact Razer is using a special wire with an equally ridiculous name, SpeedFlex cable, also sounds insignificant, but turns out to be a big deal. I've used a version of the DeathAdder the Expert for years, and my one complaint is that the stiffer wire can sometimes pull the mouse to one side, depending on how it sits on my desk. The V2's wire is the most flexible I've tried on a gaming mouse, and ultimately that means it's less likely to impact your mouse movement, even if you get lazy about wire management like me. The left and right mouse buttons are more durable than the Elite 2. They're optical, rather than mechanical. They use an infrared light beam to register clicks, which means they should deliver fewer misclicks, lower latency, and have a longer life. Razer reckons they'll last 70 million clicks, rather than the 50 million for the old DeathAdder Elite. While I can't possibly tell how accurate that number is, they certainly felt as responsive as I could ever need, and I never misclicked. In games of Fortnite and Escape from Tarkov, my shots felt instant, and I never had to worry about firing accidentally. And then we come to the sensor. Razer's party trick, the DeathAdder Elite stats are in parentheses for comparison. It goes up to 20,000 dpixp 16,000, tracks up to 650 inches per second 450, and has a resolution accuracy of 99.6%, 99.4%. Those increased numbers may or may not mean much to you, because they'll make very little difference in day-to-day performance. How often do you need to go above 16,000 dpixp? Not often. However, carrying on a trend in recent Razer mice, the left and right mouse buttons are a bit flimsy. They feel fine, even sturdy, when you're clicking them straight on, but the slightest amount of sideways pressure makes them waggle off center. It makes me think they couldn't take much of a beating, such as if you threw the V2 into a bag before running out the door. It's a relatively minor gripe, but I noticed the same thing with the Viper Ultimate Wireless, and I hope Razer can sort it soon. It detracts from the overall solid build. Second on our list is the Logitech G305 Lightspeed. With the Logitech G305 Lightspeed, Logitech has created a high-performance wireless gaming mouse that doesn't cost the earth. Its mid-range price has it competing against some great wired mice, but there's no compromise in performance or design. The G305 Lightspeed might not be the latest model on the market, but don't let that bother you. A good mouse is a good mouse. It's still a great value option for day-to-day use, while its lightweight makes it well suited to fast-paced shooters where reaction time is paramount. The G305 uses Logitech's Hero sensor, an iteration of the fantastic sensor Logitech's best mice, from the classic G502 down to the G Pro X Superlight. This sensor is capable of sensitivity range of up to 12,000 CPI counts per inch. It can be adjusted via a button underneath the scroll wheel. In addition to the CPI button, there are 5 programmable buttons. Of course, there are the left and right click buttons, which are joined by scroll wheel and 2 side buttons. These are well placed for the righties out there. It can last more than 200 hours on a single battery, which helps keep the cost down vs. being rechargeable. Logitech has won praise for its 2.4 GHz wireless technology and cross-device compatibility. Even though lag shouldn't be an issue, the G305 comes with a USB extension cable, allowing you to place the receiver close to the mouse. Dropouts or reception issues be gone. The small wireless dongle can be stored inside the body of the mouse, but critically, the left and right click buttons are separate pieces from the removable palm rest, ensuring a reliable and satisfying click. They're rated for 10 million clicks too, so if you're playing games that require button mashing, the G305 will serve you well. The shape of the G305 is based on a small, ambidextrous design Logitech has been using for years. While components like the scroll wheel and buttons don't feel as premium as those in the G502, they're still far better than anything you'll find in a cheap gaming mouse. The quality and performance of the G305 are killer features for its price. Finally, the top product on our list is the Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro. With over 15 million sold since its inception, the Razer DeathAdder has certainly earned its place in the Best Gaming Mouse Hall of Fame and at the top of our Best Gaming Mouse Guide. There have been so many iterations and variants of the legendary mouse, and with the newest one, the DeathAdder V3 Pro, Razer isn't really messing with a winning formula. In fact, it has doubled down on everything that earned the DeathAdder its name: excellent ergonomics and pro-level performance. Razer has taken the DeathAdder to the gym, cut down the fat, shed weight, and ripped the muscles to create a lean, mean clicking machine. The design changes are reasonably subtle, but enough to offend some DeathAdder diehards. Gone are the massively flared-out mouse buttons and smooth shell in favor of a slimmer, less aggressive profile that has more in common with the Viper Ultimate than previous DeathAdders. It's still very much a right-hander's mouse thanks to the slanted curve of the mouse's hump that leans ever so comfortably into your palm. The shell has a new micro-texture coating instead of smooth plastic. It helps keep the now 63G mouse a 25% drop from the previous DeathAdder from flying out of your hand in the heat of battle. As a clicker aimed at the highest echelon of his sports professionals, Razer has put only its finest tech inside the V3 Pro. First up, it features Razer's fastest ever sensor. The new Focus Pro 30K optical sensor with a 70G acceleration and a maximum speed of 750 inches per second for 99.8% accuracy. No one will play at such a ludicrous DPI, but combined with a few tricks like asymmetric cutoff, motion sync, and smart tracking, you'll never claim that the mouse is why you lost that match. For the main clickers, the DeathAdder gets 3rd generation Razer optical mouse switches with a blink, and you'll miss its 0-2 ms response time and long life of 90 million clicks. To me, there's no distinguishable difference between using the V3 Pro wireless or wired. But if you have doubts, Razer also has a special 4000Hz hyperpolling dongle that you can buy as an add-on, but I reckon most folks would simply use the bundled SpeedFlex USB cable to assuage their latency fears. The new DeathAdder, like its predecessors, is light on buttons, having only 5, which is laughable compared to the 11 you'll find on the Basilisk V3. I like how chunky and accessible the side buttons are since I don't have to awkwardly contort my thumb just to use them. I'm not too enamored with the scroll wheel though. Sure, it's tactile with steps that are great for weapon switching in game, but it gets very tedious to do lots of scrolling with this mouse. Razer's new Hyperscroll tilt wheel would have been welcome here. It's little things like this and the simplicity in button configuration that works great for FPS gamers, but not so much for other game genres or work. I wager more gamers are like me. We need a mouse that's as great for doom slaying as it is for navigating dense Excel sheets. However, if your job is playing Twitch shooters, then this is just perfect. Razer claims 90 hours, and since unboxing it about 3 weeks ago, I've only charged it once. I've been exclusively using this as my primary mouse for at least 8 hours a day. It's fast, comfortable, has excellent battery life, and is very deadly in the right hands. Very few gamers can lay claims to such hands though. For most of us, the $149 being asked for the DeathAdder V3 Pro is simply too much, and it feels somewhat akin to owning an F1 car and using it for grocery shopping and school runs. Still, if you fancy yourself in a sports pro who needs a no-nonsense, hyper-focused slaying machine, the V3 Pro lives up to the legends of old. Thanks for watching, and that's all for now. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Till next time.